Casino workers of Reddit, what's the saddest thing that you've seen? Story 1. There were these two middle-aged Greek or Cypriot ladies who were always on the slot machines. Every day when I started my shift, and they were there when I finished 10 hours later. And still there in the same clothes the next day oftentimes. They were super nice and always polite to the staff. One day they hit the jackpot and win big. I think it was either £15,000 or £45,000. It was a good few years ago now. Everyone was overjoyed for them, except the managers obviously. Well, the managers then gave them free meals at the restaurant and an open bar tab until every single penny of that money was clawed back into the casino. Story 2. I'm late here, so this probably won't get seen, but people with gambling addictions really need to get help. I witnessed firsthand some tragic shit at the casino. I worked valet at a casino and brought down one of the regulars' truck. He seemed his usual self, handed me $5 and said have a good day. As I'm walking off I hear a clap, kinda sounded like someone dropped something really heavy. Turned around and didn't see anything so well. Went and brought down the next car and realized dude's truck is still there. I pull up next to it and his head is laid back with blood all over the side window. To make matters worse, right about that time his daughter, probably in her early 20s, comes out screaming and falling on the ground because she saw her dad shot himself. Then the BF or bother, not sure, came out and was trying to lift her off the ground because she looked like she was about to faint. The whole situation was just so tragic. I can seriously still hear screams saying, "No dad, no." Makes my eyes water just thinking about it. The casino offered free counseling to us that were there, and I talked to someone a couple times. It was hard to take all that in. Story 3. Former valet at a casino. The amount of daily regulars who drove barely functioning vehicles full of trash, roaches, and rats who would actually valet their car and go gamble away any money they had to their name was honestly depressing. The saddest I remember was a 90-plus-year-old lady who drove a 91 Corolla, and when we got in her car we realized she had no power steering fluid at all, and her steering wheel would barely turn. I have no earthly idea how her frail arms could turn it. We went and bought her some before she left that evening. Story 4. I worked with a woman who would piss away an entire 2-week paycheck within 15 minutes after getting off work, and then she'd start writing checks and hitting the ATM right after. Her family was ruined eventually, and things got so bad for them financially that her husband killed himself. She got a life insurance settlement or some sort of fund upon his death, and blew it all gambling within a month. Her dad died not long after and left her inheritance, and she lost all that within 2 months. No idea whatever happened to her, but she was absolutely insane. Story 5. It's been about 15 years, but I worked in one for about 4 years. The one that stands out was a woman who came from the country to the big city to get Xmas gifts for the whole family, including young kids who still believed in Santa and all of that, but spent all of the Christmas money at the casino before going to the mall. Also, a few years later I went back to visit, and when talking to one of the pit bosses about who was still there and whatnot, she told me one of my old regulars, who was actually nice and likable, a rare trait in that business, had recently committed suicide as a result of gambling too much. Story 6. We had to evacuate and close down for the rest of the day due to a burst pipe causing no running water. When I walked outside, there was an elderly lady throwing a legit tantrum in the parking lot. She was on the ground kicking and screaming. Her screams sounded like something you'd expect from someone who'd just lost a family member, not someone who had to leave the casino for a few hours. I left, but some of the security who were dealing with her told me later she was too upset to drive home, and they had to call a family member to pick her up. I've seen some stuff. A lot of what others have commented is fairly common, but this was definitely the most messed up. Story 7. In general, people who come for the first time and are super nice and friendly, they don't care about winning or losing much, just came to have fun. They come back a few more times. Then after a few years they're regulars that don't smile anymore, they don't laugh, they don't count their wins, just their losses, and sweat every comp point they earn and act like gambling is their job now and the focus of their life. I've seen more than one person have this happen to them. The other saddest thing is when a regular stops coming in and their spouse comes out and tells us they passed. We're almost family with some of our regulars and it hurts to get that news. Story 8. That's interesting. I live not too far from a casino, and on the odd occasion when I'm bored, my friend and I will go there just to pass the time by playing a few penny slots here and there and watch the table games. The one thing that really has me going is that while we high-five each other over winning $1 or $2, Everyone else is stone-faced, and even when they're on a streak bringing in large amounts of money, there's no happiness or joy to be seen. How much have they lost to get that jackpot? My mom once said that you never hear about people getting rich from going to the casino, but you hear lots about those who have lost everything. Number 9. I worked at a casino over a decade ago. Someone once won a small jackpot, around $2,000. While checking her ID for tax paperwork, it was discovered that she had placed herself on the state's problem gambler self-exclusion list. This meant the casino was obligated to remove her from the building without paying the jackpot. She wouldn't have been allowed inside had she been recognized earlier. Upon double-checking, the manager downloaded an updated exclusion list. Our local copy was sometimes a few days out of date, but the new version showed she had removed herself from the list with sufficient notice, so the jackpot was paid. She then put every penny back into the slot machine, made a few ATM visits, and at the end of her stay, asked the cashiers if she could be put back on the self-exclusion list. Number 10. Coming into work and seeing the same people still playing who were there when I left the night before was disheartening. Some parents took turns. One would play the slots while the other sat in the bright, noisy lobby with their kids trying to sleep. The casino where I worked was aggressively anti-kids. No vending machines, no kid-friendly TV channels in rooms, no video game room, extremely bright lights in every public area. But every Friday and Saturday night, we'd see kids sleeping on bumpy metal benches and on the floor while the adults gambled. To clarify, there was always an adult with the kids. They weren't left alone, but they were still sleeping on benches while their parents gambled. Still incredibly irresponsible. Number 11. Ex-casino worker here. I saw way too many people spend ridiculous amounts of money gambling. I saw little kids asleep in chairs outside the casino floor because their parents were busy gambling. A man had a heart attack at a poker table, and other gamblers were angry because the game had to stop for EMS. The saddest one was a woman who wanted to cash a check made out to the electric company. She asked if she could scratch out the name and replace it with the casino's. I told her we couldn't do that. Number 12. I've seen little kids asleep in chairs outside the floor on Christmas Eve. The last casino I worked at would put up several Christmas trees around and outside the casino floor. Seeing little kids curled up near or under the trees always made me deeply sad. Number 13. A man got furious because we wouldn't cash a check from a trust fund bank account. He said, "This is my nephew. I'm legally in charge of the money." He was enraged when we refused. Another man brought in his federal tax return check, where he had scratched out his name and hand-wrote the casino's name instead. When the bank wouldn't cash it anymore, he blamed the casino, even though he had altered the check himself. Number 14. The heart attack thing happened on my shift too. Paramedics were shocking the guy on the floor, and someone tried pushing past us because it was the shortest path to their slot machine. A man once dropped $1,565 on a blackjack table and said, "Dealer, my family's about to have a great Christmas or no Christmas." 20 minutes later, it was all gone. He blamed the dealer and walked off. Our casino had 95% repeat customers, so it might have actually been his family's Christmas money. Number 15. In 10 years of dealing table games, I've seen people lose so much money they cried right at my table. I've seen people sitting at slot machines for days. One regular always brought her disabled child in a wheelchair and left them beside her while she played for nearly a full day. I had a man with clear dementia at my table. He couldn't remember what was happening, barely made hand signals, and kept forgetting we were in the middle of a hand. He tipped well, so he was overserved alcohol. Reports were filed, but nothing ever changed. Number 16. The worst was a few tables away. A man's girlfriend was trying to get him to leave, and he got so enraged he tried to choke her to death right at the table. He fled from security into the woods behind the casino and ended his life near the building. Number 17. My first time at a casino, I sat at a roulette table next to a guy with a terrible odor. I couldn't identify it at first, but eventually moved. Later, I mentioned it to my dad, who casually said, "Oh yeah, people wear diapers so they don't have to get up." I didn't believe it until I saw it mentioned on Reddit many times. The idea that someone won't get up to use the bathroom is devastating. Number 18. I didn't witness this, but I helped open the Motor City Casino in Detroit in late 1999. A month later, an off-duty police officer lost everything and ended his life on the casino floor. I was working for an IT vendor at the time and left after the first week of operations. My contact at the casino was working when it happened. The opening had been delayed multiple times, costing an estimated $1 million per day in lost floor revenue. Number 19. I worked several positions in casinos over 6+ years. The one that hit me hardest was seeing the father of one of my high school friends come in more and more often. He was once healthy, wealthy, and owned a small plane. Over time, he gained weight, looked sickly, drank constantly, and spent days at a time inside the casino. His family had fallen apart, his wife left, his son cut ties, and he lost everything. Even years later, my family would visit the casino and see him at the same machine, hollow and unrecognizable. Gambling addiction destroyed him. Number 20. I was at a bar on the casino floor when an elderly man sat down nearby and began chatting with the bartender. He said his wife of 50 years had passed from cancer weeks earlier. They had no kids or close friends, and he said he took all their savings to Vegas to have some fun until the money runs out. Then I'll be going home to be with my wife. The bartender didn't respond. I just stared at my phone, unsure what to say. Number 21. We had a roulette and blackjack room that adjoined a nightclub. One night, a man spent more money in 2 hours than I made in 2 months. He wasn't drunk. I tried to get him to stop, but he just said he was lonely and playing blackjack was the only thing that made him feel okay. He was far from home, possibly Russian, and incredibly sad. His expression didn't change from start to finish. It was difficult to watch. Number 22. I was playing poker at a tribal card room. A guy in his early 20s was clearly inexperienced and rebought chips 3 times. He mentioned he had just been laid off from the local factory and used his severance check to play. After busting again, he left quietly. Suddenly, the table didn't feel fun anymore. Number 23. Tuesday mornings, right after the weekly 4-hour cleaning, people on Social Security would already be playing penny slots with whatever $10 they had left over. I worked at a bank near an Indian casino. The casino bus would pick up retirees from a nearby home on check days. The day after, many came to us trying to dispute transactions, claiming fraud. It happened every single month. Number 24. My dad had a gambling problem. I saw some heartbreaking things. A blind Chinese man once came in with bodyguards to help him gamble. I saw couples blow all their money and sit silently together, half in tears. I watched a woman lose everything and just sit there, unable to move. My dad used to hit it big and made me play a machine next to him. When mine started winning and his didn't, he shoved me off it. I don't miss casinos, they're soaked in desperation. Number 25. I worked valet at a casino. One night, someone dropped off their car, and I jumped in to move it. It smelled awful. My supervisor called the cops. When we opened the trunk, it was full of groceries, raw chicken included, that had been sitting for 4 months in Missouri summer heat. The owner said their helper had quit, so they started eating out every night at the casino. They didn't have the money for it. I won't gamble again after working valet. Number 26. People who had been inside the casino for days would sometimes request items from their car. We'd bring the car around, they'd dig around, and then walk off. One night, I was accused of stealing $300 from a glove box. Security searched me, nothing found. Turns out, security footage showed the person had already retrieved the money the day before. They just didn't remember. Number 27. My dad was a casino security guard for 15 years. When he started, the slot chairs were cloth. They changed them to vinyl because people wouldn't get up and would relieve themselves in the chairs. Others snuck kids into the hotel and luggage. Some left kids in their cars. One man took out a loan against his house, lost it all, and died on the casino floor. People would wear the same clothes for days. Others begged near highway exits, pretending to be homeless, to collect gambling money. Number 28. I saw a video recently of a man who lost his life savings and threw a tantrum. I'm sure it happens more often than we realize. Maybe not the tantrum or collapsing part, but people losing everything, yes. Former casino security here. A man jumped off the 8th floor of our parking garage. I was an EMT once and responded to a similar call. He threw his money in the air and took a running leap. It was a Saturday, busiest night of the week. No stopping him. Number 29. Not a casino worker, but I used to work at a bank. A customer came in asking about some transactions, so I reviewed her statement. I saw repeated $2,000 withdrawals from a nearby casino. In one statement alone, there were over $10,000 in withdrawals. Her total balance was about $60,000. I looked further back and found that she had recently sold her house and received around $700,000. In less than a year, she had gambled nearly all of it away. Month by month, it just dwindled. It was one of the saddest things I saw in banking, and I saw a lot. Number 30. A customer walked up to me while I was working as a slot attendant. He held out 4 quarters in his palm and asked if I knew which machine might be ready to pay out. He explained that he had driven over 2 hours to get to the casino and that this was literally all the money he had left. He hadn't filled his gas tank, and now he didn't have enough to get home. I pointed him toward a section of machines that had paid out earlier, but I knew there was nothing I could really do. I hated that question. Number 31. Not a casino worker, just a casual gambler. The first time I ever went to a casino, I was waiting in line at the ATM. The woman in front of me withdrew her last $5 and paid a $9.95 fee to do so. Her account balance flashed on the screen, $0. She walked away without looking back. That moment stuck with me. I had come to enjoy myself, but seeing that almost made me go home. It was a sobering reality check. Number 32. I was driving cross-country for work and stopped in West Memphis for the night. I went to a casino to kill a few hours. From my slot machine, I saw a woman playing with tears streaming down her face. Suddenly, she screamed. Her machine hit 0, and she started bawling uncontrollably. She kept yelling that she had nothing left and begged for her money back. Security removed her. I had won $150 and cashed out immediately. The walk to my car was terrifying, not because I feared being mugged, but because of the desperation on the faces around me. I never went back. Number 33. One of the saddest things I've seen was a regular who clearly lost more than just money. He came infrequently and always seemed to be chasing his losses. Over time, his appearance changed, his clothes became worn, and he looked more and more withdrawn. His demeanor showed neglect and emotional strain. It was like watching someone unravel in slow motion. Gambling didn't just hurt his wallet, it hollowed him out as a person. Number 34. I worked in a standard city casino in the UK with pretty strict limits. Not a lot of wild stories, but one that stuck with me was a man who lost his house over a single summer. He wasn't dramatic about it, just quiet, increasingly bitter, and visibly deteriorating. The anger and sadness in our regulars were constant. A friend from school had a dad who did the same. He lost his house, his wife, and his kids. His wife didn't take it well. It messed everybody up. He disappeared from their lives entirely. The aftermath wasn't much different than drug addiction, honestly. Number 35. Former cage supervisor. Within a single month, 2 people jumped to their deaths from the top floor of our 6-story parking garage. The saddest part? The second time it happened, the staff just sighed and said, "Really?" Again, like it was an inconvenience. That kind of work wears you down. You either become numb to suffering, or you can't last in the job. I made it just over 2 years before the rotating schedule and emotional toll chewed me up. The company pretended to be responsible by offering addiction pamphlets, but it was all for show. The industry is predatory. Number 36. I managed an apartment portfolio, and one of our properties was in Vegas. This was decades ago, before online rent payments. We had a strict no-cash policy, but the property manager told tenants we'd take cash just for that month to boost collections. It worked. On a payday Friday, she collected $80,000 in rent, roughly $150,000 in today's money. Then she went to the casino and put it all on red. She planned to double it, deposit the original on Monday, and no one would ever know. She lost. When Monday came and the deposit didn't show, I panicked. We found her later at some guy's house. She went to jail. Number 37. Area manager for a fast food chain. I oversaw 12 stores. One Monday, a store manager didn't show up for work. She wasn't answering her phone. I drove to the location and found the crew waiting outside. I opened the safe. 6 weekend deposits were missing. I feared robbery or worse. We called police. 2 days later, they found her at a casino. She had gotten drunk, passed out, and hit her head on a slot machine. She had planned to double the money and put it back before anyone noticed. She was 72 years old and went to jail for felony theft. Number 38. I've worked in casinos for 35 years. I don't know if every story I've read is true, but I believe all of them. I've seen stories just like them over and over again. Nothing really surprises me anymore. Gambling brings out things in people that most of us never see. I tell people stay away. It's not worth it. Number 39. I've never been to a casino, but I believe every one of these accounts. Gambling establishments seem to pull out the darkest parts of human behavior. Friends who've worked in them have told me enough. If you want to play poker, just invite some friends over. Everyone throws in $5, you enjoy a few drinks and laughs, and nobody walks away broken. That's how you keep it fun. Casinos aren't entertainment. They're slow, calculated destruction dressed up in blinking lights. Number 40. I recently watched a video of a man who lost his entire life savings at a casino. He broke down completely, screaming, throwing his arms around, and sobbing. While the tantrum was dramatic, I'm sure the core story isn't rare. People walk into casinos thinking they'll win big and walk out with nothing, not just broke but emotionally shattered. The worst part is knowing they'll probably come back, still believing the next spin might save them. It's beyond heartbreaking, it's a cycle. Number 41. I used to work in casino security. One Saturday night, our busiest shift of the week, a man threw his money in the air and sprinted toward the edge of the parking garage. He jumped from the 8th story without hesitation. There was no warning, no stopping him. It was horrifying. What stayed with me wasn't just the act, it was how quickly everyone around returned to their routines, like nothing had happened. That kind of trauma sticks with you forever. Number 42. As an EMT, I responded to a call at a casino where someone had jumped from the 8th floor of the parking structure. It was one of the most disturbing scenes I've ever witnessed. I remember the silence afterward, no bystanders crying, no employees reacting anymore. Just numbness. It didn't feel like an emergency for anyone but us. The staff had seen it before. That's how normalized these tragedies become in places like that. You carry that image with you forever. Number 43. I worked at a bank and had a female customer come in, questioning her recent account activity. As I reviewed her statements, I noticed consistent $2,000 withdrawals from the nearby casino. She had sold her house less than a year earlier and deposited nearly $700,000. Now her balance had dwindled to nearly zero. She had gambled away almost everything. Watching her history unfold across those bank statements was gut-wrenching. It wasn't just money she lost. It was her entire sense of financial security disappearing month by month. Number 44. A disheveled man approached me while I was working as a slot attendant. He held out his hand, showing 4 quarters, and asked if I knew a machine that might be ready to hit. He told me he had driven over 2 hours to get there and had no gas money left to return home. That was all he had left, $1 and a last shred of hope. I pointed him toward a bank of machines, but I knew it wouldn't help. It never does. Number 45. At an ATM inside the casino, I stood behind a woman who withdrew her last $5. The machine charged her a $9.95 fee. As she walked away, her account balance flashed across the screen, $0. She didn't even flinch. That moment stuck with me. I had come for a bit of fun, but seeing someone pay to take out their last dollar changed my whole mood. It made everything feel darker, more real. That day, I cashed out early and left. Number 46. While passing through West Memphis on a work trip, I stopped at a casino to kill a few hours. From my slot machine, I spotted a woman nearby with tears running down her face. When her machine ran out of credits, she screamed, begging the machine to give her money back. She was inconsolable. Security eventually removed her. I had just won $150 but cashed out immediately. The desperation on her face made me feel sick. I never stepped inside a casino again. Number 47. There was a regular at our casino who showed up constantly. At first, he was cheerful and well-dressed. Over time, his clothes grew more tattered, his expression more distant. He barely spoke anymore. You could tell he was chasing losses, but also something deeper, maybe a sense of control or identity. It was like watching someone crumble in slow motion. He didn't just lose money. He lost his sense of who he was. Gambling stripped everything away, piece by piece. Number 48. I worked at a UK city casino with strict betting limits, so we didn't see many explosive incidents. But one man lost his house over the course of a single summer. He kept trying to win it back, chasing losses with a desperate, quiet intensity. Eventually, he also lost his marriage and his children. His story reminded me of a friend's father who did the same. It was awful to watch. Gambling doesn't need to be dramatic to destroy someone. It just needs time. Number 49. I used to be a casino manager for about 15 years. One story that never leaves me involves a woman who was an anesthesiologist assistant. She hit a bad beat jackpot at a half no-limit poker table low stakes, and won around $120,000. Within weeks, she moved to higher stakes games, then to the high-limit blackjack pit. Before long, she was living out of her car in the parking garage. She fell fast. It was like watching a real-life lottery curse play out. Number 50. Former casino worker of 20 years here. I was the games manager on duty one evening when a woman playing blackjack had made multiple ATM trips and was now buying in for thousands. A dealer quietly told me she had just been crying. I watched her lose more hands and cry silently. I approached to discreetly offer help through our addiction support program. She snapped, insisted she was fine. I eventually asked her to leave and paid for her cab home. Number 51. I worked graveyard shift, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., at a video poker casino. One night, we were robbed at gunpoint. The robber disarmed our security guard and forced everyone to the ground. Once he fled, I sat in the cage, shaken, waiting for police. Meanwhile, the 5 patrons who had been robbed calmly returned to their games. Even while officers dusted for fingerprints, they kept feeding money into machines. That night I realized, for some people, nothing interrupts the addiction. Number 52. Back when I was single and had more disposable income, I visited casinos frequently. One time, I saw an infant in a car seat, covered by a blanket, moving around in a parked vehicle in the garage. Security had already been alerted. They found the parents inside playing slots. They were arrested and made the news. I'll never forget the image of that baby in the dark car. It changed how I saw casinos and the people who frequent them. Number 53. Not a casino worker, but I used to manage an apartment portfolio. One of our properties was in Las Vegas. A property manager there decided to accept cash for rent 1 month, against policy, to boost numbers. She collected $80,000 and took it to a casino, planning to double it. She lost everything. When Monday came and the money hadn't been deposited, I flew out. We eventually found her at a man's house. She went to jail. It was both reckless and tragic.